MPH Sports Podcast. Talk sport and property with sports people discussing their careers and how property played a part in it.
Alex, Ethan, Waller, welcome to Talk Sport and Property. How you doing?
Yeah, all right, thanks, mate. How are you?
I'm really good. Thank you for joining.
Very well, thanks, mate.
Cheers for joining the pod. Really appreciate it. Hopefully this will compete with your one, Ethan.
Here's hoping. I don't know. Get a good 20 listeners a week, mate. It could be. It might be a struggle to try and top those numbers.
We'll go for it. Look, I don't know if you listened to the pod before. I think you both have. We're going to chop this up into two halves. We're going to talk about sport in the first half of the pod, and then we're going to talk about my favourite subject, which is property. Before we jump into your sports careers, though, I really want to just ask how's business going? We're not going to talk about rugby just yet. I think, Alex, you have Waller Woodwork. Ethan, you have a new venue opening called Sangers. And I think you both co-own Slice Baby. Is that right?
That is. Al, I'll let you go first with Waller Woodwork, mate, because I feel like I'll probably be able to cover the Slice stuff a bit better than you can.
Yeah, that's true, yeah, Beef runs that aspect, and I'm sure we'll touch on our shared responsibilities with the property company and Slice later on. Yeah, so I run a small custom furniture company, do a lot of work alongside Tom Wood, who plays with me at Northampton. We just make custom furniture out of live edge stuff, so really big dining room tables, coffee tables, and such. Went to small items like chocolate boards. I've actually got a load sat over there, but so it keeps me busy. It was just sort of a hobby that snowballed into a small business when I just started making stuff for myself and friends and family around the home, and post it on Instagram, and then you get someone asks to make it, make X, Y, and Z, or could you try making this or that, and yeah, no, really love it, and it keeps me busy and occupied. It's a bit of a sort of me time and a relaxation post training or post a busy week. I enjoy getting out into the workshop, put a podcast on, and make some sawdust. So it's quite rewarding as well. Very different to my normal job. Obviously, playing sport and in a high pressure environment. This is just me and my tools and a load of sawdust. So and occasionally Tom Wood, but we don't speak anyway. So it's brilliant. No, I really enjoyed it.
Is it a nice release actually to come away from rugby and do something you enjoy?
Yeah, absolutely, and that's how it started. It was just sort of something to do in my free time, which I don't have much of now. I've got two kids, so it's so the free time is limited. But the time I do get, I enjoy in the workshop just to switch off and get away from rugby and all the other pressures around. Just make something old school, just work with the hands.
Yeah, no, brilliant. And talk to me about Sangers, Beef, because I'm really impressed with the branding.
Yeah, so I had a pretty busy summer with Slice Baby, which is the pizza company that me and Al both own together, and we sort of adapted through lockdown and started switching from going out and doing events, obviously, because of the pandemic, into making pizza packs you could do at home. So we had doughs that we'd make and then pot up all the ingredients, send them off. Long story short, I was looking for some extra staff for Slice for when events started again, and a friend of mine who had been having some of the DIY packs messaged me saying, mate, I'd be keen to really enjoy the packs. I've also got a bit of extra money to invest if you're ever thinking of making anything permanent. And myself and one of the players at Worcester Warriors, Niall Annett, had always been talking about how in Worcester there's just a distinct lack of sandwich shops. There's loads of places to go for like a brunch. But that seems to be all it is. So you can either get like a sausage and bacon sandwich, you can get full English, eggs Benedict, all that bollocks. But there's no way you can go just to get like a good sandwich on some good bread that's local. So that was an idea we thought that was missing around there. And yeah, we're full steam ahead at the moment. Now we've got a unit set up. It's in one of the archways under a railway bridge, which is what's going to become a big hub of Worcester and where all the hospitality stuff's going to end up. So we're lucky that we've got it on the ground floor there. That's being redone at the moment. It's going to be very much a sort of a New York style deli kind of place where you can come in, make your own sandwich, or have selections of sandwiches on the board that you can choose from, loads of different breads, loads of different sides, and then all around the shop will be loads of local produce, anything from honeys to beers, chili jams, oils. Basically, if you can think of it, there'll be some of it in the shop. So we're looking to open that around May time, but at the moment we're just having to put in some hard graft and some DIY.
We're recording this pod at 5:30. I would normally be home in about 25 minutes with dinner on the table. So you can imagine I'm absolutely starving, and listening to that, I'm just drawing all over my desk here. I wish you both all the best with it. And I've got to say, the Waller Woodworks, I've been watching your posts, Alex, and some of the stuff you do is absolutely first class, genuinely. So
thank you, mate.
Keep up with the work, boys. Okay, let's talk sport. We'll start with you, Alex, if you don't mind. Born in Kettering, prop and club captain at Northampton Saints, a really impressive 290 professional club appearances, all for Northampton Saints. So when did you get picked up by the club?
I had quite a non-traditional way into rugby, shall we say. I didn't start playing really till I was about 13, 14 when we moved schools, and we were just forced to play. And then I took to it a little bit like a duck to water. We did very well at a sort of under 15 level at school for such a small school that we were at. I got picked up by Northampton to go into their sort of junior academy. And then unfortunately I had a pretty bad injury, broke my leg pretty seriously at 16, had surgery and had a pin put through the middle of my leg that's still there now, and that all screwed together. And that was the start of many surgeries in my career. And then I was actually binned off by Northampton 2 or 3 times. So when I was 16, and then again when I was 17, then again when I was 18. So that was good fun. I changed position at that point to prop when I was 17. Reluctantly, actually. I was very against the idea. I was a back row at one point, and Ethan here was the prop in the family because he was a bit bigger than most when he was younger. And so, yeah, I changed. And then I went away for a year, actually. I played national rugby, National 3 rugby, which is, I'm trying to think of the football equivalent, but it's the lower league stuff. Just playing men's rugby, getting beat up, filled in, punch, learning my craft really in the front row. And then I'm pretty sure I just annoyed the Northampton Academy coach at the time, who's Rob Hunter, who's Exeter's forwards coach now. I'm pretty sure I just annoyed him to the fact where he thought I would just give this kid a contract for a year on what is 100% below minimum wage and and
below minimum wage.
But I just bit his hand off at the opportunity to get a foot in the door. And I think after that first year, I'd signed about 6 contracts when I kept surprising them and doing better and better. So, and then, yeah, the rest you say is history. It's not been the smoothest ride. There's been some ups and downs, a lot of time in hospital, some big surgeries and some time spent away from the game. But I love it in Northampton. I was very fortunate to, not very, very often do you get to play with family members in professional sport, but we did it for a fair few years. Then he couldn't quite kick me out of the squad, so he had to leave. And now we lock horns once or twice a year, which is always fun. And we were quite fortunate. Over Christmas, we played each other, so it was a loophole where we actually got to see each other over Christmas and have a beer. So that was good fun. and the captaincy the last couple of years has been a real learning curve. It's something that I've really enjoyed learning. It's not been easy by any stretch, especially in periods when you're losing or we had a bit of a bad spell or being injured. But it's something I really love and enjoy learning about that leadership and stuff. And it's something that I'm continuously working on. But it's really good fun, actually. And to be able to lead some of the lads that we've got on our team and some of the players is a real privilege. We've got, British and Irish Lions and almost Centurion internationals, and it makes my life pretty easy, mate.
Well, I don't want to sort of go too far in advance because I want to take you back to that debut. So I've got here, you made your debut in November 2009. So what were you, like 19 or something? 19
there, yeah, 19. I think it was Ospreys, wasn't it? Ospreys in Wales or something?
Yeah. So do you remember that day fairly well? And Ethan, were you like was it like a family event or were you in the...
Nah, I supported him when he was coming up through the ranks in the second team stuff. I think I missed this one. Is this the one where you got dragged off?
No.
And then on again?
Yeah, cheers for being out.
Hey, man, I got to humble you. I've got to keep you
keep me humble. No, it was away. It was away actually in Wales, so there was no real family support. Were you at the club at that point? You wouldn't have been at the club, would you?
I wouldn't have been. Nah, I came in the year after.
He was still at school at that point, so it was a lovely cold, wet Welsh evening, I think it was. So standard, and it was in a pretty empty Osprey Stadium because it was what was they called the LV Cup there, which is now the PRC, which is like the teams sort of use it to blood new players in almost. So that's where I got my shot. I was just fortunate enough that the stars aligned and one of the other props got injured, and that was my way in as I was the next in line essentially. It's a baptism of fire. Playing against men and in a professional environment is a shock, but once you've got a little taste of it, it's quite addictive, and you just want to keep on doing it.
A couple of years later, you were named the Young Player of the Year. So what did you sort of see change in your game between 2009 and 2012?
I think it was just experience. I was very young in wet behind the ears in terms of in the front row, and people call it the dark arts as such, but it is a learning process. And you almost, as a front row, you've got a little bit extra time. You don't really mature or get your man strength to 24, 25. So you've almost got a little bit of time to develop, and you're not expected to do too much too early, which I was fortunate enough to do. So I think I just grew into the position and learning, and I don't think there was many other candidates. I don't think there was many people in the academy when I won it. So yeah.
The following year was obviously a big, memorable year for the club, winning both the Premier League trophy and the European Cup. Was this the first time in history that this had happened for Saints, and how special was this for you also personally?
Yeah, it was the first time we'd won the Premiership ever. We'd won the Amlin or the European previously, probably 3 or 4 years previous to that, but we'd never won the Premiership before. So it's a little bit surreal. I'm sure, Beef was there as well. You win the Amlin, and there's champagne everywhere, but you've got a week and a half and you're playing for the big trophy. So
that was the weirdest win I've ever been a part of.
You have a little celebration in the change room, maybe a couple of beers, but then it's business. We've got the big one to go for, and once we've won that, then we'll really celebrate, which I didn't get to do actually. But that was a strange time, but it was amazing. And then the Saturday night after that we won the Prem was pretty interesting. That was pretty full on, plenty of celebrations, and we made sure we celebrated that win. And then we had an open bus tour, which we thought no man and his dog was going to turn up to.
There was one guy jogging behind the bus from where we left Franklin's Gardens. There was one fella jogging behind the bus, a few people in the street giving it the claps. And we were like, Jesus, this has been a waste of money. And then by the time we actually got into the centre of town, it was clean off.
There was like 30,000, 40,000 people there, wasn't there, in the centre of town. And we hadn't really heard anything of it because obviously we'd just been drinking all night, and lads were turning up with sunnies on and shades, trying to hide the hangover a little bit. And a lot of the boys just got straight back on it on the open top bus tour. But myself and I think 8 others were off to New Zealand the next day with England. So we didn't really get a chance to celebrate, which was, one of my probably biggest rugby regrets, not regrets, but things I look back on and wish, it was an honour and a privilege to go on England tour. I didn't get capped in the end, played a midweek game, and obviously I was very proud to be selected. But then, there's the lads you put in, week out in the trenches with, and you've won the Premiership and you don't really get to celebrate. So we made sure we did, the 8 boys at the end in Auckland. We had a pretty decent night out there just to make up for lost time, but it wasn't quite the same.
I want to go back to that final. Was it right that it was actually you that scored the winning try in extra time against Sound?
Yeah. I wasn't sure, in hindsight, would I have done that again? Probably not. I didn't know the clock was up. I didn't know a drop goal would have won it. I just saw the line and I was like, come on then, we'll just give this a crack and we can come back afterwards. Luckily, it touched the line and, the rest is history.
So that was wasn't it?
Yeah, it was at Twickenham. It was an amazing day, actually. Really nice weather. 100 minutes of rugby. I'd managed to collide heads with Courtney pretty early on to coming on the pitch and split my eye open and break my nose, which was good fun. But scoring it at the end was pretty special. And actually another prop, Tom Mercy, we were celebrating and he poured champagne all over my face and rubbed my face, forgetting I had stitches in, and like half of them came out. And it turns out champagne in a cut is quite sore. So I wouldn't recommend that to anyone. But amazing day for everyone. And Beef was there on the pitch as well afterwards, and all the family were there and friends. So that's one for the memory banks for sure.
Wow. You then went on to compete in the European Cup. So I read some knowledge about the European Cup and your route to the final. So look, you need to correct me if I'm wrong, because my knowledge in rugby is very little. It is improving. So there's 23 teams, 20 in the pool stages, and 3 that parachute into the knockout from the Heineken Cup. Is that correct?
Yeah, no, should be. You'll know more than me. Yeah.
And there's 20 clubs from 6 different countries. Is that right?
Yeah. Scotland, Wales, Ireland, France, Italy. Yeah.
Okay. So you beat South Sharks 28-14 in the quarterfinal. You beat Harlequins 18-10 in the semi-final, and then you go on to beat Bath 30-16 in the final. Was this a tournament you were favourites for, or did you think?
We actually didn't. We didn't start in that tournament. So we started in the Champions Cup, or the Heineken Cup as it was known then, wasn't it?
Oh, you
yes, we started in that, but then because the best, I think the top 2 losers of the groups or something, then go into the quarterfinals of the Challenge Cup. So we dropped down into that, and I actually remember because you didn't play that quarterfinal one, did you? Because we'd had a brutal run of games, so they mixed up the squad for that quarterfinal with a couple of young boys to give the lads who have been playing those rugby like all the rest. So it was quite a few younger boys. I think the average age of our team that day was only about 22, 23.
Who got man of the match?
Did I get man of the match? Oh, didn't. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Maybe I did. But then that sort of put us in there, and then obviously went on to win that final. So I wouldn't say we were favourites by any stretch coming in. In fact, I'd argue we were underdogs when we sent that team up to Sale, but boys dug in. And then
squad rotation in important games like that is quite common.
Not really. I think we probably had an eye more on the Premiership because it was what we'd been striving towards. And we were in a really good position in the league.
Yeah,
like boys have been going well, and I think we trusted the squad a lot at that time. That time as well. So there was no issues with boys coming in, changing it up, and we knew that we were going to have limited opportunities to rest people, and it had been pretty attritional by that point anyway. So it was easy to swap the fresh lads in, give them a run around, give players like Al a week off from playing, and then as you saw, it sort of paid dividends because we ended up going on to win that trophy and the Premiership by the end of it.
And did you make up for the lack of celebration for the Premier League by getting smashed the European Cup?
It was the other way around. So we won the European first, then the Premiership, and we got the Premiership.
We celebrated half the European Cup, right?
Yeah, we went big.
Because, I know you're a drinker because, I've been watching Cheltenham this afternoon. I was telling Alex before you came on, the phone has not stopped all day interfering with my horse race this afternoon. And I saw you were there last year, weren't you?
I was, yeah. I think, mate, how I've gone to that and not contracted coronavirus and just sort of, or maybe I did and I've just worn it. Who knows?
Yeah.
But yeah, sort of that was. I love Cheltenham. Since moving to Worcester,
probably helped.
It's Guinness. It just gives you a barrier. I'm telling you. But since joining Worcester, mate, I've been every single year. I love it. It's one of the best days of the calendar year, without a shadow of a doubt. Well, the best weeks, without a shadow of a doubt. And it normally lands on a week we don't have a game, so you normally get a chance to go down there and really commit to going for it. And I'm gutted I couldn't go this year, and I'm even more gutted my accumulator went tits up this afternoon.
Alex, I want to sort of finish with you on a real high, actually, because this was a stat that obviously I didn't know, but was equally excited to talk to you about. So you hold the record for the most consecutive games played in the Premier League. I mean, that's mad. I mean, how many was it? Was it 150 or? It
was 149, it turns out. They got the 150 wrong, I'm pretty sure. That would be my knowledge. But everyone says 150, so we'll go with that. But yeah, it was 150 consecutive games. It's just a run of luck, really, mate. That's literally it. Lucky that I didn't get injured up until that point, and ironically actually snapped my arm in half on the 150th game. So that was good fun. But yeah, it was just luck, mate. And I was at the time I was in favour as well, so I got picked most weeks. In hindsight, should I have been played that much for that consecutively? Probably
no.
Not. I probably should have had a couple of weeks off. Yeah, and Beef might still be at Northampton if I did. So, but no, I love it. Every time I pull the shirt on, it's a great honour, and I love going out there, the lads. So it's one to enjoy. Yeah, I'm closing on the big 300 games in the next couple of weeks. So that's a big milestone that I've been looking forward to. Well, when that happens, we'll celebrate at some point.
Well, congratulations. It's a huge milestone. Honestly, you should be very proud of yourself, mate. When you look back, that is very, very impressive. But this is a great time to bring in Ethan, actually, because clearly if you'd have stayed at Saints, then you wouldn't have had that record, would he?
Well, yeah, who knows, mate. To be fair, I think I ended up leaving on something, I think 96 games, which was really annoying. I got dropped for the last 4 games of the season my last year there, which was extremely annoying, but I don't hold any grudges.
Ethan, 3 years younger, same position as Alex, current prop at Worcester Warriors, 211 career appearances. It all started at Saints as well as your bro. When did you join? Was it a similar sort of early process where you're in and you drop, then you're in?
Yeah, well, not really, mate. To be honest with you, I got into rugby by accident.
Okay.
I was fully planning to go to uni, go and get a degree, and that was sort of me that was the plan. But then my last year of school, I didn't play like county or any good rugby. I just played it for the love at my local club most of my teenage years growing up. And my last year of school, ended up getting representative honours like East Midlands, and got invited to come to the Saints Junior Academy for my last year of school. But they didn't really have any games. I think I played one game that we played against some absolute cabbage Argentinian touring side. I think one of the players that was at Saints at the time, I think it was his local childhood club that had come for a tour, and I ended up playing in that. But then otherwise, I'd been told I wasn't getting a contract or anything because I'd only been there a few months. And then one of the they have 2 sevens tournaments for the academy boys like later in the year, and I got a call from one of the academy coaches asking if I wanted to come and play those sevens tournaments. Which is carnage because sevens is basically the 15s game, but with 7 people on the same size pitch. Not really my bag, not the quickest around. But yeah, went and played those, actually did pretty reasonably well, and they asked me to come do a pre-season, then spent a year sleeping on Al's floor on a futon, training week in, week out. In fairness to it, Al, he paid for me to do, to live that year, more or less. So I literally stayed on his floor, ate all this food, and sort of grafted my way into getting an academy contract at the age of, I think, my first year at school was the year I was unpaid. So I would have got my first contract at 19.
Yeah, no, that's right. And you made your debut against Harlequins. So do you remember that day? And were you both playing together?
Yeah, I remember the day. I came on for Al for about the last 15, 20 minutes.
Oh, really? Is that what happened?
Yeah, so it sort of started the career the same way it finished, just coming on for Al, the usual. I think out of the 96 games I played, I think I only started like 12. But yeah, but that game was actually quite carnage. My debut, like big day for me, massive. And then I ended up getting yellow carded and losing us the game. From the word go, mate. Yeah, I went to go compete at the ball, got yellow carded, got sent off, and as I'm walking off the pitch, they've tapped gone and scored the winner. It's quite dark, I'll be honest with you. It wasn't the best way to start my career, but sort of brush that one aside, and managed to still build a career off the back of it. So it's not all bad.
Oh, that's so funny. I had no idea. I'm so glad I asked that question now. So I noticed you had some spells with both Coventry and Moseley on sort of dual contracts. So in football terms, is that like a loan move?
Sort of, yeah. It was less of a loan move, more of a dual registration. So I'd train with Saints during the week, and I'd always be available. Saints would always be a priority. So if we had to be a travelling reserve for a game on a weekend, that'd be the priority over playing for Moseley. But on the games where I wasn't needed and I was available, I'd train during the week with Saints. Then every Tuesday, Thursday night, I'd go down to Moseley or Coventry, train with those boys again in the evening, and then play for them on the weekend. So at one stage, it was quite savage because I'd be training, I'd be in at 7:30 training with Saints. I'd be leaving the club around 2, 3-ish. I'd then be on the M6 down to Moseley, which is the other side of Birmingham, for a sort of a 5:30, 6 o'clock start, and I'd be getting home around 10, 11. I'm at 7:30 for weights the next day again. So it was quite savage at the time, but like I loved those leagues. National 1 and the Championship was real good. It was a bit of a different path to Al. I got more of a baptism of fire. I was more of a gentle coal walk. I just sort of like learned my trade in those leagues, got my head filled in a few times, but wouldn't change the way I did it for the world. I think those leagues were brilliant, and you meet some real good people off the back of it.
Yeah, it's all part of the journey, isn't it, really?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah,
so
wouldn't have changed it. It was real good for me, real good.
Your breakthrough season into the first team, it seemed to be that sort of following year, 2013, 2014 season, where obviously you won that double. Not only did you push in the big bro for that number 1 spot, but you also won Young Player of the Year too, just like your brother did. I mean, that must have been pretty cool.
Yeah, mate, it was pretty special. I mean, I made a thing of it when he got it that he wasn't going to be the only one to get it. Otherwise, I would have fully lost my head. But no, it was massive for me that year because I think we signed out as Corbisiero, and we'd had a guy there called Swani Tongawiya who was more or less, Al will testify to this, he was more or less unbreakable. So my shots at the first team weren't really coming, but we signed out as Corbisiero, and he was an England international, so I knew that I was going to be getting at least sort of like 12 games a year, one way or another. And having only played 2 or 3 at that point, I was like, wicked, there's the next stepping stone, happy days. Unfortunately, he got injured early in that year, and I think I ended up playing something like 27 odd games that year, granted only 15 minutes at a time, so it wasn't that bad. But it was such a good way to be eased into the Prem and learn everything about how the league works and get that experience, which is invaluable, especially as a front row at 21. Pretty invaluable. And I don't know who's voted for me to get that young player of the year, because I can tell you now there's considerably more impressive highlight reels from backs doing far more fancier things, but rather than me just pushing around the place. But no, really special for me. It's actually still hanging on my wall upstairs, that little trophy.
Is that voted by the players or the fans?
Fans, I think. Yeah.
And just out of interest, what sort of average gate do you get at Saints?
Was it 15,000 you've been there?
Yeah, 15,000. Yeah, it's only a 16,000 seat stadium, so you're generally more or less at a full house most weeks. The fan base is really good, really passionate. Actually, in Northampton, such a small town, and rugby's a massive part of it. On match days, you can tell people are busy and the pubs are full, and then they all come into the gardens pretty loose and get stuck in, especially on a Friday night. So it's a good one.
Can't wait to get into sports stadiums again. I mean, you guys must miss it.
Yeah.
Terribly.
It's weird. Luckily, mate, having played National 1 and some of the weirder championship games, I'm used to playing in empty stadiums, but it's still weird going back from having full crowds to absolutely nothing. I think we had crowds for like 2 games in December.
Yeah.
And even having like quarter capacity was game changing.
Was it?
I do miss it, got to say.
Yeah, well, hopefully it won't be too much longer, mate. And well, look, in 2017, you signed for Worcester Warriors. Why did you move? Why did you sign?
Well, mate, to be honest with you, like I said, that first year was a good learning experience for me, but that sort of like set the bar quite high as to where I'd been and what I could achieve. The year after, Corbs was fit for a lot longer in that period, and I think I only played something like 10 games and started to lose my head quite a bit that second year. But I re-signed anyway because, you know, my hometown club, I was still young. I was willing to, you know, give it a really good crack. And the year after, managed to get my spot pretty legitimately. But when it got towards that last year, I mean, Al will tell you now, he was at a point where he was in favour, yeah, but he also was getting flogged into the ground. And he wouldn't willingly give it up, but like there was no sort of sharing of workload, and if me and him had shared it a bit more, I don't know, maybe swapped around a bit more, or maybe me have a little bit more time here and there, it'd be happy days. But I was getting lied to by coaches, basically telling me what they wanted, telling me what was going to happen, and it just I'd hit a ceiling, if I'm honest with you. And just thought it was time to move, need to move on, need to try something different, try a new challenge if I was going to make the most of it, as opposed to just sitting in my comfort zone, just being number 2. I just wanted to go somewhere and prove to myself more than anything else that I could play week in and start week in, week out in the Premiership out of my own merit. So that's what I did. Worcester came along, offered me a good deal and offered me a place where I was going to be able to start week in, week out and become part of something they were building. And I mean, it's been a completely different set of challenges down here. I mean, I've had damn sight more coaches than I thought I was going to over the last few years, but I wouldn't have changed this move for the world. I think it's been really good for me. And the irony is, if I'd stuck around, Al broke himself the year after, so I would have played a lot of rugby. But but luckily for me, I've still played a lot here, and that was the main reason I moved. And I love it here. I love the city, and I love the group of lads that I get to play with. So no regrets whatsoever.
You actually played your 100th Premiership game against Saints fairly recently, didn't you? That's
yeah. It was the last game before we went to lockdown. I actually I love the games against Saints anyway, because obviously there's a little bit of added spice to it because I'm playing Al, or it's my hometown club. But that game, it would have been a fairy tale. I was about to score in that game, and then their scrum half, who might have been the quickest human being I have ever met in my life, just popped up out of nowhere and slapped it out of my hands. No word of the line, mate. I was about that far from the line, and he's just popped up behind me and gone, nope. And I've ended up dropping it and knocking it on. And I have grafted for that as well. I've sprinted upfield from like a good 60, 70 metres to try and get on the end of it. And I was running like, this is my moment. And then, bam, straight out.
What is it like playing against each other? Because I know you guys are close. We have spoken quite a bit over the past sort of 12 months. I'm very close to my brother as well. And we've got a 3-year gap. But if we were playing against each other, you know, it's a whole nother rivalry, isn't it? You know, what is it like?
It's good fun. It's good fun. There's there's all a bit of tongue in cheek, but there's always a little cheap shot that goes in here or there, and then
or just undo your shoelaces at the bottom of a ruck.
Yeah, that was annoying. You can't do anything too serious because you just end up getting banned now with the way the rugby's going. But there's ways where you can find each other for sure, and we always tend to in some aspects. So it's good fun. I always look forward to them. I always look for where they are in the calendar and see when we're going to get to Lockhorns. And I always hope that we're both starting at that point. But it's good fun. I enjoy it, and the family enjoy it as well. So we always have a good support when we can at either ground. So mum's got a Saints and Worcester shirt, sort of half. She likes to wear that, and she'll support Saints when we play at home, and she'll support Worcester when we play away. So everyone's a winner. She can't lose really, so she's happy days. But
how is Sue?
She's very well.
Good.
She's good, mate. Yeah, she's very good. It's his birthday in a couple of weeks.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
Did your dad play? Where did rugby come from?
Our dad is the anti-athlete. He's 6'4". He could have been the real rugby player, to be fair. He's 6'4". He's about 125 kilos. He's a big old goose, but he's much more down the musician / DIY kind of route. But rugby for us just came from, I think, I when we were younger, I wanted to go to a specific school, Wellingborough School, and Alan was already in secondary school at this point, and sort of dragged you across, and it was part of the curriculum. Like, you had to do rugby, and we sort of both went in there and fell in love with it there. Me, because I was fat, and it was pretty much the only sport I could play at that point where I was useful. And
I got to hit people and not get in trouble, so that was I was happy with that.
Talking about your dad and music, I mean, you don't mind a tune yourself, do you? During the first lockdown, I mean, quite regularly I was watching you, on a guitar and banging out a tune.
Oh yeah, I'm utterly shameless, especially on
nice
social media.
Hand, obviously. So it's guitar, microphone.
Yeah, mate. I don't mind the occasional tune. I am shameless. We were part of a family band at one point. Myself and Al. Al plays the drums because he's tone deaf, so he'll just hit things in a rhythm instead.
Yeah, keep time though.
We could have mapped this pod out in a whole new different way if I'd have known this.
There you go. There's part 2. Yeah.
Yeah, might just scrap this off and we'll start again next week. Well, look, before we wrap up the first half of the pod, I just want to say, firstly, did your contract come to an end this year, Ethan? And are you planning on staying?
It came to an end. I re-signed in December 2019 for the 2021 and 2022 season. So I'll be leaving. Well, not necessarily leaving. Sorry, my contract ends at the end of 2022. So I imagine between now and then I'll be having some conversations with the club in terms of what their vision is, where they see me in it, and it'll just rugby's a very short-term kind of game. So it'll be, and a lot can happen in a year. So to answer your question, I have no idea. I'd like to. I love the city. I love the place, but you never know. Never know how coaches feel.
So this is the time where we're going to ask you both a quick question fire round. You ready?
Yeah, think so.
Number 1, who was the naughtiest growing up?
Al.
Who was the fastest?
Me.
Yeah, there you have it.
Who's the best golfer?
Yeah, come on, Chubbs.
All right. Best golfer, yeah, probably also Al. I've been known to hit the roof of a driving range.
Next question from James Grayson. Ask the boys if they have nicknames, and if so, what are they and why?
Do you want me to start?
After you, mate. Yeah, after you, pal.
Yeah, my nickname's Sue. It's obviously my mum's name. When I was at 18, 19 at the club, mum came to a shirt sponsors afternoon randomly without telling me either, which is an issue. And so I saw Dylan Hartley, who was sort of my mentor at the time, and he what he did was he was talking to him. So I went, I better go over and introduce myself and mum. So I said, this is my mum Sue, and he just looked at me and was like, okay. And then the next time the team was announced, Jim Malander, who was our director of rugby or head coach at the time, was like, number 17, Sue Waller. And I was like, right. So as soon as the boss starts calling you a name, it's pretty much stuck. And that's been it since. So mum didn't know for a few years until we were watching the game back, actually. And Roger Wilson at the time is an Irish international number 8. It was on the telly. and we're about to scrum, and he was shouting at the back, he's like, "Come on, Sue!" And Mum was like, "Did he just say come on, Sue?" I was like, "Yeah, that's what they call me because you came to that shirt sponsors thing and you didn't tell me, and I'm called Sue now." And to be honest, even when we go to the mums, or when we were allowed to go for lunch or something, when our stepdad says Sue, both of us turn around. So I'll just react to Sue rather than Alex now most of the time. So that's what everyone of the lads calls me. It's unusual if you don't know. And
yeah, Grace told me Friday night. I honestly couldn't stop laughing, so I had to bring it in. And Ethan, as I know you, but actually
it's beef. Yeah, mine's a little bit less exciting. It does root back to my mum. Well, the only reason I'm called Beef is because, cut long story short, I was a fat kid. The first teeth that came in were the two chompers at the front, and she just called me Beefy Eefy with his two front teethy. And that name stuck with me for life, pretty much. Everyone that I know, I'm pretty sure most people know me as Beef. There's a good portion of people that don't know my real name.
Brilliant. Okay, well, we'll quickly fire through the rest. Would you go into coaching or management after rugby?
I would. I'd go into coaching, definitely. I like it. I used to do it quite a bit when I was back in Northampton with the local team, and I really enjoyed actually being able to pass it on. And I also love local rugby clubs. Like, I think having grown up most of my rugby career in my teen years at local rugby clubs, I love that level and that sense of crack. So I'd happily go into it, and regardless of level. And
you?
Yeah, I think I would, to be honest. When I was out, I recently ruptured my Achilles, and I spent a lot of time actually working with some of the young players at the club, and also helping Matt Ferguson out, who's our scrum coach, just doing a few bits. And I really enjoyed it. So I'm not sure it'd be something I'd actively pursue. If the opportunity arose, then maybe I'd take it. But hey, never say never. I just think once I've finished playing rugby, I've lived my whole life since maybe 15, almost to a schedule, and being dictated to what I can do and when I can't. So I think there'll be a few years where I just I want to go skiing or not be dictated to by rugby season.
Skiing?
Après ski. Yeah, I'm not actually going to.
Oh yeah, après ski. Yeah, right,
I'm not actually going to ski. I'm just going to ski to the bar.
So I'll join you.
Yeah, but there's a lot of things that you're restricted on doing when you play professional sport, and that's by no means saying with me. It's a great job, and it's one that I love. But I think there's a couple of years I need just to spend some time with the family and do some bits for us before I sort of sign up to that. But hey, the mortgage still need to get paid. So if it, but hopefully we're going to have a banging property business by the time I finish.
Good segue.
Tied it all back.
Who is the most entrepreneurial?
I'll go. I'd say Beef is more organised. I think we both are very idea driven.
Yeah, we're both excitable in terms of business ideas and ventures. I'd probably say I've got a bit more experience in terms of actually starting and growing a business, but obviously, we've each got different responsibilities, as we'll come to. Mine's much more in the hospitality industry. Al's obviously selling his woodwork and does a lot of the work in our property company as well. So but it's pretty equal, I'd say, actually, to be fair. I'd say it's fairly 50-50.
Cool.
I'll take that, yeah.
Wood or food?
Food. Always food.
Oh, it's a close one for me, to be honest.
Mate, you can live without wood, you can't live without food.
That's true, yeah, but I do really enjoy wood. I'll go. A good meal. I can eat for England. Yeah, I'm pretty impressed when it comes to eating.
I saw you lying on a very large plank of wood yesterday.
Yes, that was good fun actually. That was at a local golf course that we had to just clear up for when golf courses reopened. Yeah, we're milling up some lovely oak. That'll have to sit and dry. I'm going to bore you now. That'll have to sit and dry for 2.5-3 years before we can use it. But it's amazing wood.
I'm just looking at Dee's face.
Good wood, that, yeah. Good crack.
Which football team do you both support, if you do?
We were, as kids, both Man United fans. I still keep up to date with it every now and again, especially if I've got an accumulator on.
Yeah.
But truth be told, I haven't watched much. Actually, I'll tell you what's quite funny is, ironically, I'm actually wearing a football shirt now, which is a cobbler's shirt.
Where'd you get that from?
So we had a themed gym the other week, which was football shirts. And if you could get one of your hometown club to get one, so I got this old cobbler's shirt for Like
Kettering, what about Kettering Town, mate?
Mate, couldn't find one. Looked for it. The old K-N-E-T-T-E-R-I-N-G. I could only find the cobbler shirt. So I'm prepped. I've got that, and I've got my Man U shirt upstairs. So
C-O-B-B-L-E-R-S.
Cobblers.
If you need a cobbler shirt, let me know. I'll get you one. In an arm wrestle, who wins?
Me.
Well, behave. You got one of your arms has got a plate in it.
Exactly. It's metal. Solder.
Just get a magnet. Be all right.
I think it's titanium. I'm not sure that's magnetic, but
nah, it's magnetic, mate.
And let's end this on who is the best prop.
Yeah, me probably. Well-rounded, all aspects, all facets.
Well, it didn't say that. It said prop, didn't they? Which is
yeah, exactly. But well-rounded, mate. Best prop. I can do it all.
We're gonna wrap it up. That was brilliant.
Talk Sport and Property Podcast, sponsored by MPH Sports Property Academy. Download the app today from the App Store or Google Play by typing in MPH Sports, the trusted go-to app for sports people looking to buy or learn about property.
Welcome back. We've actually met individually, but we've actually never all met together because, Beef, you and I met at RPA networking event, Gaucho, obviously food, in Birmingham one morning. Al, you and I met at Boreham's. It was at a garden centre or something, wasn't it?
It was, yes. It's a very good. It's my best man's garden centre, actually. Yeah, he runs his family owned that. So yeah, it's lovely. Yeah, had a nice little. What do we have?
Would be better.
Yeah, I think Gaucho probably edges it for food, definitely. But yeah, so we'll go Gaucho and have a few beers as well. So.
So, Beef, can you explain to me why you attended that event at Gaucho? And is that quite a common thing within the RPA?
Yeah, I mean, for me, I think I've never really been firmly put on what I want to do post-rugby, and it's always been a focus of mine to have something ready to go. Like I'm doing my degree, I'm doing some financial qualifications and stuff now, obviously the property business, which is what we're talking about. But I've always been keen to have something just in case, you know, it all hit the fan. And those RPA networking events are great because you go and you get, I mean, firstly, you get a free meal, which is the smart bit, but you also get to meet people from all different facets of business and loads of different areas and industries. And it's just a good way to go and gauge what's out there in the real world, because we are very much in a bubble as rugby players, and being able to go and gauge what's out there. And it's about as much about figuring out what you don't want to do as much as what you do want to follow. So, you know, I had a few conversations that day and I left breakfast with a few ideas of things I definitely didn't want to do, and a few things that really interested me, yourself being one of them, which is why we now have this business going.
So I was talking to, obviously, yourself and a few of the other boys that day. There really did appear to be quite a bit of an appetite behind property. Was that the vibe that you got as well, with maybe a few of the boys that had conversation with me, may have referred back to you?
Yeah, I think so. I think it's because, you know, as rugby players, just the job we're in and how lucrative it can be for our ages, but it's all very temporary. So it's about trying to make that, I suppose it's the thing of, you know, intelligent people make their money work for them, and property is such a great vehicle to do that in. And, you know, with a bit of disposable cash, it's able to be able to set yourself up for the best way in life. And, you know, it's something that interests a lot of boys, and you know, your home's the most important asset to you a lot of the time as well, isn't it? So if you can do something to give yourself the best home and the best place to live in, week out, why wouldn't you?
Oh, definitely, 100%. So would you say that some of the boys talk about property as a career after rugby, whether it's, you know, surveying or estate agency or property finding or property developing?
I think so. I certainly know a few of the boys at Worcester. A few lads. One of the lads is trained to be a surveyor at the moment. He's doing a load of courses. He's more towards the arse end of his career, but it's definitely seen as a viable option. It's something that people become really passionate about, and I don't know whether it's just a rugby thing or whether it's particularly prevalent in football as well, but. It really does start to become. I think what it stems from is probably the amount we have to move and the amount we sort of live our lives in 2-3 year cycles. So if you end up buying a house, the smartest thing you can do really when you leave is to rent it, and use the extra money you're getting to you know, buy another one or invest somewhere else. So you sort of, even without thinking about it, you sort of naturally get into the property game just from the career that you're in. It almost becomes a byproduct of playing rugby or playing professional sport with the amount you have to move.
Yeah, no, definitely. Well, I think a lot of players can almost become accidental landlords by doing that, right?
Yeah, exactly.
When we met, it came to my surprise, really, that you guys have got a property together, haven't you? Was that something that you bought or you inherited, or?
No, we bought that. So when I was, how old were you, Beef? You must have been.
I was
20?
21.
Okay.
Yeah, so it was a point where I was living in rented accommodation, and then so was Beef, and I thought, realistically, we had some money saved up, and we both spoke and thought it'd be wiser to invest in a property, and we did it just actually when the market was on its ass, and we bought this house for I think 230,000, and it was a 5-bed.
I think it was.
Yeah, I think it's like a 5-bed townhouse that it's been reclassified as like a 7-bed or something. It couldn't be turned into, and we bought it right at the bottom end of the market, and we lived there with us lot, and then obviously boys are always looking for rooms and stuff that haven't bought, so we had a couple of lads with us as well. And then when I'd met my then girlfriend, now wife, and she wasn't really loving the fact of living with 4 of the lads, so we decided to buy a house together, which left Beef in charge of the house. And then Beef was looking at that point in his career where obviously he was looking at Worcester, so he knew he was going to move, so he moved out into another one of the lads' houses just for ease of transition. We rented it, and then, like you said, became accidental landlords. And then, fortunate enough, the market has come back up, and I think it was revalued the other day at about 330 or something, 340. So we'd made a pretty good markup on our investment there, and that's really what was the vehicle to provide the money for the houses that we've got now with your help. So it's all worked out in the end.
Well, that was the one bit that surprised me, that you guys had, because I knew you was a family man. I knew you was obviously your partner and your kids. When you mentioned that you had bought a property with Beef, and the first question I asked was, well, how long ago? And have you been chipping off this mortgage? Because let's realise what sort of equity you've got in that. And then we did the numbers, and it turned out, without me releasing the accuracy on it, it was quite a significant amount, wasn't it? And that allowed us to explore refinancing that, withdrawing enough money to actually go on and set up a property company and loan that amount to that business, which ended up buying you, I think we bought 3 in the end.
Now, yeah.
We've got a projection of another, £1,900 a month, which is another 23 odd grand a year, just by taking out your own money. I mean, had that been a conversation that you two had before, Alex, you and I had met?
I think we'd always talked about doing something similar to that, or making our money work for us, especially that money that we invested together. And it was just really finding the vehicle of how to do it, because what is, and I don't mean to embarrass you here, but what you make so easy is you make it very understandable for 2 absolute novices in the property game. Yeah, idiots, yeah. That have no idea how to do it in terms, like setting up an SPV. I'd have never had an idea of what to do with that, or putting you and your contacts and your reach in terms of the accountants and the solicitors and XY and who you've all worked with for so long and built that relationship up. That's invaluable, and that is, and really what sort of made it. It's almost like properties buying for dummies. You made it real simple. Here you go. This is what you need to do. Can you do it? And we're like, and it's brilliant learning that process with your help, and I've never really said it, but massively appreciate it, and hopefully long may it continue. So
have you enjoyed it?
I tell you what, it actually, mate, absolutely, it's been awesome to learn it all. I mean, I was obviously had a bit more of an input than I have with the admin side of things, because that time he pulled his weight. It came around at the perfect point as well, because we'd looked into that house, and we were looking, because Slice at that point was our only other venture. We were looking at the start of that to actually take equity out of the house to start a restaurant in Worcester, and we'd been having conversations about it. We met up for lunch a couple of times. I'd showed him plans of what we could do and how we were going about it, and thank God you did, because if we'd invested that into a restaurant and then the pandemic hit, we essentially would have lost all that. And now we've actually got our money working for us, and we've now got this company, which has been a lot of fun. It is very, very interesting to be a part of. Yeah,
I think so. And the good thing is that your properties now are, they're performing well. You're your money's safe, it's parked in there, it's giving you another form of revenue, and you don't probably even need that now. It's more for maybe a few years' time that'll pay for the skiing holidays, Alex, that you want to do. We announced last week our 3-year partnership with the RPA, which I now believe you are a chairman of, Beef. So
I am indeed, yeah.
I was firstly on a 9:00 Zoom call with the 8DMs, and we had a really enjoyable half an hour chat actually. And we were talking about doing these workshops. So me coming in, talking to the squad, because we run these 2 workshops, one on property investment, one on our advice on buying a home. And one of the ladies had mentioned, maybe we can get one on Zoom, which I was happy to do. I just said, I'd rather just wait. I'd rather just maybe have a day at the club and I can just be available, because everyone's in a different situation, aren't they? Some of them are at the beginning of their career and maybe saving up to buy their first home. And others are maybe at the end of their career thinking, well, hang on a second, I've got my house sorted. I wouldn't mind actually exploring what sort of property investments, my savings or my money that I've got parked somewhere, whether it's in savings accounts or equity in a home or image rights company, what can I do with it? So maybe I'll just do a 20-minute talk and we'll discuss a few options, and then I can hang around, or I can just go to Sanger's and get a sandwich, So how do you think the players, in your opinion, would react to a free 25-minute workshop on property?
I think overall, mate, I think it'll always be positive. As we say, because it sort of ends up becoming a part of your life, property management, from the nature of professional sport. I think you'll always get a positive buy-in, and there's a lot of lads there. Everyone that I know is looking at some way for their money to work for them. At the moment, there's a thing going around at Worcester. Lads are dead into cryptocurrency, and it's all a bit sketch for my liking. But I think being able to educate lads, and I think you being there, as you say, I think it's a far better idea you being there in person than on Zoom, because in Zoom you can get lost in translation. Sometimes it's hard to ask a question or have an organic conversation, whereas you present something and then lads are able to dip in and out during the day and ask you specific questions on their situations. It'd be similar to as we did when we first met in Gaucho, and lads being able to have conversations with you about what their interests are or individual situations are. So, I can only speak about the experience that myself and Al have had that has been hugely, hugely positive. And if I can encourage people to get involved with that, if they're happy to go with it and take the general risk that is in property, I think that's a brilliant idea. Okay,
that's good to know. I mean, what is your responsibilities now as chairman of the RPA? Are you enjoying the role?
Yeah, I mean, truth be told, I've only been in it, I think, a month now, maybe just a little bit less. The week that I got announced, I had to chair a meeting between all the player development managers. One of my big things that I want to do going with it is keep those meetings as efficient as possible. And I think the first one we had was an hour. I know, yeah, that's a big thumbs up for Al. The first one we had was an hour, which was probably one of the most efficient meetings we've had, which is a good start. And now that's the benchmark. So I'm sure I'll get hammered if it, goes over that from now on. But yeah, for me, it's one of the things that was said to me when I got the call from the CEO of the RPA, Damien Hopley. The RPA ultimately is the voice of the players, and now it's up to us to decide the direction that the players board goes on and the areas that we really want to focus on. So for me, one of the big things I care about is the welfare of players, and I think everything that's been coming out at the moment on brain health and concussion has been, without getting too deep in this podcast, it's been hugely important, and that's a big focus for me that I want us to go on, and luckily everyone echoes that in the RPA, and we've set up some separate subgroups to try and get the best out of it. And ultimately it's just making sure that going forward, the game's at a point now where it's going to be changing a lot, and it's at a really critical standpoint where the player's voice is never going to be more important, and it's just making sure that we're heard and that we have an influence on what the game looks like in the years to come, long after myself and Al have retired.
Well, I think the RPA is in a really good place with you at the helm, Beef. Honestly, mate, I think your innovation, your creativity, even the way you talk is very impressive, honestly. I've got to just honestly publicly say thank you both for your support as well. I know I've met you, Beef, not for too long. I know we also met Alex again for not too long, but ever since, we've had a WhatsApp group, we've communicated loads, we've had loads of Zoom calls. Thank you for a little bit of trust and belief in me. And yeah, thank you for for your referrals as well. I know I've worked with a few of your teammates now as well. So listen, thanks again. We're still a new company. We're still looking to grow. And we've got some big ambitions, you can see with the board behind me. We're trying to create a facilities management service where we actually take on everything post completion. So a player doesn't have to do anything at all, ever. So we're trying to roadmap that out. But listen, just in your advice, is there any advice you give to any sort of younger player sort of coming through into rugby?
For me, and I speak from experience, is don't piss your money away on cars. And I mean, look, you know, we've all. I can tell you now. I can guarantee you now. Every single player does it. Signs a first big contract. Suddenly, the Mercedes VIP, the BMW VIP, the Land Rover VIP deals start coming through, and you're like, yeah, I could probably drop £500 a month on an X5 or on a BMW, and you name it, I've had it, and now I've got a beat up 2014 Ford Ranger pickup, and I love it outside. That's my favourite car, and it's got none of the bells and whistles that all these other cars have had, and that £500 a month pays a mortgage for another property that that starts earning your equity. So there's a couple of boys actually I need to, and I'll do it off this Zoom call, Lee. I'll send you some details across some of the young lads that want to sort of speak to you. But that would be my advice: is be wise with your cash, because you can invest it. I wish I'd done it at Jimmy's, as like you say, James Grayson previously on this podcast. I wish I'd started doing what he's doing at his age. And he's switched on. He's a switched on bloke, and so he'll do really well. Yeah, that'd be the earlier the better, just to get it invested, and it will pay dividends when you're 30, 32, 33 and retired, long retired. So that'd be my advice anyway. I don't know if you've got anything else to add, Beef.
No, you pretty much hit the nail on the head there, mate. I think I mean, in fairness, you didn't piss all the money away. You paid for me for a good year. Yeah. But yeah,
Still waiting for that investment to pay back, but
I took you out for dinner the other day, didn't I? To pay for your lunch. You're welcome.
I mean, we haven't seen each other socially for almost a year, but yeah, fine.
Yeah, but good lunch when we did, wasn't it?
Involved. Please get me involved. If anyone wants to follow Waller Woodworks or come and visit Sangers once it's opened, where can we get in touch?
For Sangers, probably easiest at the moment is Instagram. We're sangers.deli. That's SANGERS.deli on Instagram, or it's sangers-deli.com, the website. But that's at the moment, that's just job applications. If you want a job, feel free to jump on the website. Otherwise, I'd advise Instagram.
Waller Woodwork is exactly the same. Strictly Instagram at the moment, although I'm sort of developing a little website. Just had a thought, actually, Beef. I'll put a load of chopping boards in Sangers. There you go. And you can sell them for me.
Sold. Works for me, mate. It's a deli. Works.
Hang on a second. But, we need to get one of those in here as well.
All right, fine. I'll sort one out for you. I can do one. I'll send you a picture later. Actually, I just made one for Beef's company and see if you like that, and I'll do something along those lines. But yeah, I'm just Waller_Woodworks on Instagram. That's my only outlet in terms of sales or portfolio at the moment. Hopefully more to come, but that's where you'll find everything.
Super. Well, boys, listen, thank you very much for your time. I'll let you get back off to fulfilling your roles as parents as well. Beef, yeah. Am I correct in saying you're due to be a dad?
I am indeed. Very big baby. Thank you very much. The baby's big at the moment. We went to the midwife yesterday, and it's in the 97th percentile in terms of like big old kids. Yeah. My missus is about 4 foot tall, so it's going to be an interesting day when it comes.
Yeah, and I'm currently avoiding bath time at the moment, so you've done me a solid there. But I'm sure I'll have a very stroppy 2.5-year-old when we get off here to go and put to bed. So
brilliant, boys! Thank you so much. Great to see you both. We'll hopefully catch up soon.
Appreciate it, Lee. Thanks, mate. Cheers, great chat, mate. Cheers, bud. Catch you soon.
You've been listening to Talk Sport and Property. Visit the App Store and download the MPH Sports app today, or keep up with us over on Instagram.